Hello students, good morning. So we are going to start with geography today. So today you will have the 6th standard geography, okay, and you will have the 7th lecture in the series, okay, and this would be NCERT based classes. So you will have the geography for NCERT. All right, so we are going to start with the 6th standard geography, and myself Pushpender Singh, and I welcome you all in this NCERT class of 6th standard geography. All right, so let's begin with the geography 6th standard. Okay, so we are going to start with chapter 1, that is Earth in our solar system. Okay, so let's start the Earth which is there in our solar system. All right, so all of you aware about the solar system. So first of all, the solar system consisting of the sun and the 9 planets, isn't it? So it is basically the main the main basically is the sun, and around the sun there are 9 planets which basically revolve or rotate around the basically sun. So revolution of these planets around the sun makes our solar system. All right, and there are certain satellites also which belongs to these planets. There are asteroids and meteoroids which are also form the part of our solar system. So solar system ultimately consisting of the sun, 9 planets, satellites, asteroids, and meteoroids. All right, so let's begin with the sun. So sun, as you consider, the sun is basically at the center of the solar system. So at the center of the solar system belongs to the sun. Okay, so it is called sun, and this sun is made up of extremely hot gases. Okay, so it is around 150 million kilometers away from the earth. So the distance between the earth and the sun is basically 150 million kilometers away from the sun, and the temperature of the sun is very high. So it is consisting of extremely hot gases. All right, let's understand about the planets. So as of now there are 9 planets in our solar system. Okay, these 9 planets are considered as Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Okay, but you must understand the Pluto is considered as a dwarf planet. Is considered as a dwarf planet. It is not considered as a planet because there are certain set of the requirement for a particular particular to be included into the category of planets. So as of now the planet is not, the Pluto is not included in the category of the planet. The remaining Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune, they are considered as a planet. They are considered as a planet. And if you move further, the Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, they are also called terrestrial planets. Terrestrial planets. Okay, these terrestrial planets are also called the basically Earth-like planets. Okay, and the remaining one, the Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, these are basically called the Jovian planet. Okay, the Jovian planets means they are called gas giants. They are called gas giants. Okay, which means they are having the gaseous envelope. They are having the gaseous envelope with them, and instead of having the solid surface just like Mercury, Venus, and Earth and Mars, they basically have the gaseous particles with them. Okay, these planets generally move around the sun in a fixed orbit. For example, if I consider, for example, this is the sun. For example, this is the orbit of Mercury. For example, the Mercury would rotate, Mercury would revolve in this manner. So this path of this Mercury is called the basically orbit. This all is also called orbit of the Mercury. The Mercury, which is the nearest planet. So for example, if you want to make the depiction, it will be looks like this: Mercury, Venus, right? Then Earth, Mars, isn't it? Then Jupiter, then Uranus, then Neptune. So roughly you can say that from the sun, the Pluto will be at the furthest location, right? And the Mercury would be at the at the shortest distance from the sun. So that is why the Mercury is the nearest planet to the sun, and Pluto, which is the furthest planet according to this the figure you can see here. the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So Pluto will be the last, so it will be the furthest planet in our solar system. Okay, a new planet which is also called the 2003 UB313 have been recently been discovered. Okay, and this new planet is basically bigger than the Pluto, but it is furthest from the sun. But it is the furthest from the sun. So this is what the new planet is also evolved. Okay, so these are our 9 planets which basically shown by this figure. All right, and this is what is depicted in your NCERT book also. Let's understand the Earth. So Earth is basically the third nearest planet to the sun. For example, if you want to draw, always try to draw the diagram. So this is sun, this is Mercury, this is Venus, and this is Earth. All right, so Earth is basically third nearest. So 1 2 3, it is the third nearest planet to the sun, and it is the fifth largest planet of our solar system. So when you compare with basically the planets, the Earth is basically the fifth largest one. And Earth is unique planet because of it support the life, because Earth is the only planet where the human existence or the life existence have been found. And sometimes it is also called the blue planet because the 3/4 of the surface of the Earth is basically covered by, by the water, and because of that it looks like the blue planet. All right, and the Earth shape is basically geode. It's not totally completely, a circle. Is basically, the shape is basically a geode. All right, let's understand the moon. So moon is basically a satellite of Earth. Okay, so moon is only satellite of the Earth which basically also revolve around the Earth. All right, and when you compare with basically the size of the moon, the diameter of the moon is basically 1/4 of the Earth. That means 1/4 of the diameter of the Earth is basically your moon. And it is about 384,000 kilometers away from the Earth. So you can say that the distance between the Earth and moon is this much. And the moon basically takes around 27 days to complete one round around the Earth. So you can say that the revolution period of the moon to complete one revolution around the Earth, it takes around 27 days. And only one side of the moon is visible to us on the Earth because it basically continuously on the rotation, right, along with the Earth also. Now, as per the the latest discovery, no life exists on the moon, and it has neither has the water nor it has the air. So there is no life in the moon because there is no water and there is no air on the moon. Okay, let's understand asteroids. Okay, so asteroids are basically, you must understand, they are tiny bodies or tiny, the solid bodies which are found basically between the Mars and the Jupiter. Okay, so they are only found between the Mars and the Jupiter, and this belt is called basically asteroid belts. Asteroid belt. All right, so the asteroid belt basically consisting of the asteroids, and they are only found between the orbits of Mars and the Jupiter predominantly. And the largest asteroid that are found is also called Ceres, Ceres. Okay, let's understand meteoroids. What are the meteoroids? Okay, these are the small rock fragments. Okay, or you can say they are the small pieces of the rocks, the small pieces of the rocks which basically move around the sun, जो sun के चारों तरफ घूमते रहते हैं. ठीक है, इनको हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? Meteoroids. Okay, now when you say how this our the solar system have been evolved, so solar system have been evolved because of the galaxy, because of the galaxy. So our solar system is a part of Milky Way galaxy. So that means there are many more such systems in the galaxy, isn't it? And the Milky Way galaxy, which basically also consisting of our solar system, is also called as Akash Ganga. Is also called Akash Ganga, and there are millions of the galaxies which consisting of the universe. So roughly from this 4 lines, you can say that the universe consisting of the millions of the galaxy consisting of the millions of such star system, because solar system is also the star system, because the star is sun, the star is the sun, and the system basically consisting of the planets. So you can say that a particular universe consisting of the millions of the galaxies, and one galaxy consisting of the millions of the star system or the solar system, isn't it? And one solar system will consisting of many more planets, isn't it? And one planet may consisting of its moons, so something like that. So it is a relationship between, the universe, the star system or the solar system, or the planets. All right. The stars means that a central body which is basically the sun. So stars, what is the definition of the star? The star has its own light and energy. So the star and the moon are the celestial bodies which are visibly only at the night in the sky. So if you see the stars having its own light, its own energy, which are visible from the light, from the night, right? And moon is also visible from basically from the earth, right, during the night. And during the daytime, the power of the sunlight renders them invisible. So during the daytime we don't able to see them, because of such a the power of the such a the bright light of the sun, which basically make them invisible. Okay. Now the moon, which is basically is basically is basically a satellite of the sun, satellite of the earth. Now this moon is also appears differently on the different nights. For example, there is one full moon on one day of the earth, or one day on the month, or one day in a month. So that means once in a month there is a full moon. Okay. And which is on the Purnima night. Okay. And on the 15th night. Okay. That is there will be a no moon in the sky. That is called basically Amavasya. That is called Amavasya. So that means you can say that a full moon which corresponding to the Purnima night, and there is no moon which corresponding to the Amavasya. That means there is no moon in the sky. Okay. Now these celestial bodies are big, okay, and they are hot also, because these celestial bodies are made up of gaseous particles. So that is why they are hot and they are big enough. And such celestial bodies are called stars. So since the stars are consisting of the hot gaseous particles, they are having their own energy. They are having their own energy. They are having their own light. And sun is the classic example, which is also called the star, isn't it? But we don't feel that heat and light of these stars, right, other than the sun, because they are even much further away from the sun. Okay. So whatever the sun and earth distance is there, the other stars are much further away from the earth, and that is why we don't feel the light and the energy of other stars. But there are millions of the such stars in our universe, isn't it? Now there are another term which is called constellations. So what is this constellation is mean about? So there are group of the stars, right, which are having a definite pattern. For example, you might have seen a big bear pattern in the sky, okay, which is called Ursa Major. Okay. You might have seen through a Saptarishi Mandal. Okay. आपने बचपन में सुना होगा Saptarishi Mandal, made up of basically seven stars, seven brightening stars. That is also called the small bear. So such type of constellations, which is a group of the stars which are visible from the earth. So such groupings are called constellations. So constellations are nothing but a grouping of the stars which are made up of the stars, and such grouping basically give you a definite patterns, which are also called the constellations. All right. Then the pole star. Okay. Now the pole star is, whenever you see the pole star, it will be looks like as if it is the remaining at the same position in every night in the sky. Okay. So generally it retain the same position in every night in the sky. And it is also called the north star, because you must understand, once by looking at the pole star, you can know, or you can easily detect the northern direction, because it is always shine in the northern direction. So that is why the pole star, whenever you don't have any sort of a direction, you can look at you look at the pole star and you can easily find out where is the northern direction is, isn't it? Now there are certain celestial bodies also that do not have their own heat and the light. That was I was talking about. For example, the moon does not have its own heat and the light. The earth also do not have its own heat and the light, isn't it? But what happens is, such celestial bodies basically reflect the light which they are which are coming from the other stars. For example, the light and the energy which is coming from the sun, right? So when we see the Purnima, and during the Purnima time or during the full moon time, we see the moon is glowing. Is it real moon is glowing? No, it is that part of the moon in which or on which the sun's rays are falling. Only that part of the moon is glowing. So that means you must understand, the moon ultimately reflect the light which it gets from the stars, which is gets from the stars. And such bodies are also called planets, right? They may also have such a set of satellites also, right? So such satellites also may have such type of pattern. So you must understand, those bodies which do not have its own heat, which do not have its own light, but they basically reflect those light which are originated from the star, because star has its own light, its own heat. So such bodies which just reflect the light and the heat, they are called planets. They are simply called planets. इसका मतलब indirectly आप ये भी कह सकते हो, all planets do not have their own heat and the lights, isn't it? So only those planets which do not have the heat and the lights, they are corresponding to those celestial bodies which are found in our solar system. And moon is the only satellites of the earth which is having this type of characteristics. All right, so I hope it is clear. The earth and the moon are the part of bigger system of the celestial bodies, and it is also called the solar system. So solar system, as you know, the solar system basically consisting of the planets, the asteroids, meteoroids, and the basically your the celestial body which are also called the satellites, isn't it? So such type of thing are also part of our solar system. Now when you say the sun is basically the star which is also called the head of this system, okay? Because the head of this system is at present at the center of this solar system, and all other planets which are there, for example Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, they basically revolve around the sun, isn't it? And there are satellites which revolve around these planets, isn't it? So there is a classic pattern. If you look at into the figure which is given in your NCERT book, the sun is at the center and the planets revolve around the sun, and there are multiple satellites. These satellites revolve around the individual planets, isn't it? And this looks like very fascinating and very interesting picture of the planets, satellites, and the star. The planets, in addition to revolving around the sun, they also rotate around its own axis. So जैसे there is a two terms which you must understand, that there is one term called rotation. रोटेशन का मतलब होता है अपने एक्सिस पे घूमना. मतलब if I make a diagram, you can look into this diagram. So for example, if this is a planet and this is, for example, north south axis, so I'm making this axis, okay, and along this axis, if the planet is rotating, just rotating, so that is called rotation. If I make this planet to revolve around a particular star, for example, if there is a sun which is at the center, and this planet is revolving around the sun, revolving means making a round around a one star, that mechanism is called basically revolution. So revolution का मतलब होता है moving around a one star, and rotation का मतलब होता है moving or rotating on its own axis, or basically rotating just on its own axis. So that is called basically rotation. All right, so these are the two terms you must understand. So all planets basically rotate as well as all planets revolve. So they revolve around the sun and they rotate on its own axis, isn't it? These two terms you must understand. And the sun is made up of extremely hot gaseous particles, right? These extremely hot gaseous particles provide the sun lot of heat and the light, okay? And this lot of heat and the light will basically basically enlighten our solar system. So that will basically provide this heat and the light to our solar system, including the earth, isn't it? And when you say the order of their distance from the sun, So Mercury, which is the nearest to the sun, as I have already explained you through the picture. The Venus is the second one. So you remember Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. All right. So you see here, Mercury is the nearest one. Then you have the Venus. Then you have Earth. Then you have Mars. Then you have the Jupiter. All right. Then you have the Saturn. Then you have Uranus, and then you have basically your Pluto. All right. These are the planets which are basically at the order of the distance from the sun. So Mercury is the nearest one. All right. Now, as I already explained you that till August 2006, the Pluto was considered as a planet. But now, after 2006, the Pluto is now not considered as a planet, but rather it is considered as a dwarf planet, because it does not fulfill the conditions which makes any celestial bodies as a planet, right? So that is why it is considered as a dwarf planet, not as a planet. Okay. And I've already explained you the shape of the earth is basically geode. Okay. It is not a complete sphere, but the shape is basically geode, which means it is not perfectly spherical, because if it is perfectly spherical, you can say that it is a spherical, but it is flattened at the poles. So if you see the diagram of the earth, it will looks like as if it is flattened on the poles, right? It is flattened on the poles. So that is why the shape of the earth is geode, not completely spherical in the shape, isn't it? And the earth is probably the only planet that can support the life. Okay. There are no other planet which basically support the life in our solar system. And this is because the temperature, the resources like water, oxygen, etc. are present in the proportion which are appropriate for the life. All right. So as you know that the life saving gas is basically oxygen. The water is basically which is required us to stay, right, required us to live. So this water and the oxygen which are present in the earth, and the optimum amount of temperature, optimum amount of pressure, right, all such life supporting constituents are only present on the earth. So that is why the earth basically support the life. Okay. And the earth, you can say that roughly around 2/3 of the surface of the earth is covered by the water. And that is the only reason the earth is also called blue planet. Why it is called blue planet? Because it looks blue from the space. So when you see from the space, it looks blue because 2/3 of the space is covered by the water. And as I told you, the moon's diameter is 1/4 of the earth's diameter, as I explained you. And the moon is basically 384,400 kilometers away from the sun. And as I told you, it completes one complete revolution in around 27 days. All right. And regarding asteroids, I have already given you the definition that there are certain tiny bodies in the space which are called asteroids. These asteroids move around the sun. All right. And there is a belt also where such tiny bodies are present, or such tiny objects are present. Such tiny objects are called asteroid belt, and this asteroid belt is only present between Mars and Jupiter, between the Mars and the Jupiter. Okay. And there are certain small pieces of the rocks which are called meteoroids. Okay. That moves around the sun. Okay. So such type of meteoroids are moving around the sun. And there is a galaxy. As I told you, galaxy consisting of the billions of the stars. So ultimately you can say that a single galaxy consisting of the millions of the star system, or say the billions of the star system. Okay. अगर आप यूनिवर्स की बात करेंगे तो आप बोलेंगे a single universe consisting of billions of the galaxy. तो इसका मतलब ये हो गया, the universe is consisting of the billions of the galaxies. The galaxy is consisting of the billions of the stars or the star system. The star system consisting of the various type of planet. The planet will basically have the satellites also. That is how the relationship between them is basically established. All right. Let's understand celestial bodies. Celestial bodies मैंने मतलब आपको बताया ही है. Celestial body का मतलब होता है any object in our universe. Okay. That can be called a celestial body. For example, a sun is a celestial body, the earth is a celestial body, or you can say the star is a celestial body, moon is a celestial body. Okay, when you say the star की definition मैंने आपको बता दी. Okay, the star means it's having on its the light and the heat, and generally it is made up of the gases, and such type of the celestial body is called star. The full moon night मैंने आपको बताई है. Full moon night means in the night when the moon is visible from the earth as a full sphere, it is called full moon nights, and it only occurs once in a month. Okay, what is new moon's light? That is every 15th night. So that is 15th night after full moon night, when moon is not at all visible in the sky, that is called new moon's light. You are getting my point? So full moon's night means the full moon is visible from the earth, right? That occurs once in a month. All right. And what is new moon's light? New moon's light means every 5th night after the full moon's night. All right, where you will have basically the moon is not visible in the sky at all. So that is how you call them the new moon's night. All right, let's understand constellation. What is this constellation is all about? So constellation means I told you it's a pattern. It is a pattern which consisting of the stars. For example, you have Saptarishi Mandal. So Saptarishi Mandal consisting of group of 7 stars. Okay, so it is having the definite pattern. So that pattern, the definite pattern of the star is called constellation. Okay, next is called planets. What is the planets? So planets means a celestial body, okay, which generally revolves around the star or the central celestial body. And the planets basically receives the light, the energy from the star itself. So that is called the planets. Satellite का मतलब मैंने आपको बता दिया. Satellites are those celestial bodies which revolve around the planet, okay, in a particular orbit. Okay, just like a planet which revolve around the star. Okay, here the satellites which revolve around a particular orbit. Okay, around a particular celestial body which is also called planet. All right. ऑर्बिट का मतलब देखिए, ऑर्बिट का मतलब क्या होता है? ऑर्बिट का मतलब क्या होता है? ऑर्बिट जनरली इन द इलिप्टिकल शेप, जैसे आपने मैथ्स में पढ़ा होगा ना 11th 12th में, इलिप्स. ओके, सो इलिप्स इज लाइक दिस, a diagram. If I draw the diagram, so if you flatten your ring, so okay, you have the ring. If you make the flattening of your ring, okay, that will be in the form of your ellipse. So all orbits are basically in the elliptical form. Okay, and all satellites including your planets basically revolve around the sun or around the planets in a eclipse or in a elliptical path. All right, sun के बारे में मैंने बता दिया. Sun is basically also called the head of the solar system because the sun is basically consisting of the gaseous particles which is very hot, and because of that all our solar system basically receives the light from the sun, right? Inner planets and outer planets, these are the two set of planets. Why we call the inner planets? Because such inner planets basically they orbit around the sun, between the sun and the asteroid belt. Asteroid belt आपको कहाँ मिलती है? Between the Mars and the Jupiter. If I draw the diagram, you can see here, this is the sun, this is Mercury, this is Venus, this is Earth, this is Mars, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Okay, then you have basically, right, Jupiter, then you have the Saturn, then you have the Uranus, and then you have Neptune. All right, and Pluto is not considered as a planet, so we are not considering Pluto. So you see here, between Mars and the Jupiter you have asteroid belt. So I'm just making, this is an asteroid belt. Okay, so these 4 planets, that is Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. So that means if you read this diagram, if you read the definition, the inner planets that are the planets that orbit around the sun, between the sun and asteroid belt. So asteroid belt कहाँ मिलती है आपकी? Between the Mars and the Jupiter. So इनके बीच में जो planets होंगे, that all planets are called inner planets. They are also called terrestrial planet. Terrestrial planet. They are also called Earth-like planet. Okay, why they are called Earth-like planets? Because they are having the solid surface like Earth. Okay, the outer planets which are called the Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and the Neptune, they are not having the solid surface, but they are only having the gaseous envelope. So that is why they are also called Jovian planet. They are also called Jovian planet. Jovian planet का मतलब होता है gas giant. Gas giant. All right. So they don't looks like just like a Earth. So that is the classification that they have made a separate category, right? That they are having the gas giant. They don't have any sort of a solid surface, just like a Earth. All right. ठीक है. जियोड देखिए, तो जियोड का मतलब होता है जैसे चपटी सरफेस. चपटी सरफेस. इतना भी चेक करने लगा था कुछ सेंटर के लिए तो फिर ये चेक किया ना. ऑल राइट. सो जियोड का मतलब होता है, जियोड का मतलब होता है जैसे स्फीयर का मतलब तो होगा कंप्लीटली स्फेरिकल शेप. जियोड का मतलब हो गया दैट इट इज फ्लैटेंड एट टू प्लेसेस. जैसे अगर मैं इस नॉर्थर्न पोर्शन को थोड़ा फ्लैटन कर दूं एंड सदर्न पोर्शन को हल्का सा फ्लैटन कर दूं, ठीक है. नाउ this structure is called geode. This structure is called geode. So geode is basically a spherical and which is basically flattened at two places. All right. Next is poles. What is the poles? The poles are basically, they are generally diametrically opposite to each other. Okay. And they lie on the axis. So when you say this is the earth axis or this is the earth axis, okay, so they are diametrically opposite. So it is called as north pole and it is called basically southern pole. So they are basically diametrically opposite, right? And the spherical body or geode basically rotate around these poles. All right. So these are basically called poles. एस्टेरॉइड की डेफिनेशन मैंने आपको बता दी. व्हाट इज एस्टेरॉइड डेफिनेशन? ओके. एस्टेरॉइड का मतलब होता है छोटे छोटे टिनी सेलेस्टियल बॉडीज होते हैं दैट मे बी रॉक फ्रेगमेंट्स दैट आर कंटिन्यूअसली मूविंग अराउंड द सन and such belt are mainly found between the Mars and the Jupiters that are called asteroid belt. They are only found between the Mars and the Jupiter. Okay. And meteoroids की मैं definition बता दी. They are basically move around the sun. गैलेक्सी यूनिवर्स मैंने आपको बता ही चुका है, दोबारा से एक बार फिर सुन लीजिए. गैलेक्सी का मतलब होता है, ठीक है, इसकी डेफिनेशन को वैसे समझते हैं जैसे सबसे बड़ा कौन होगा? पापा जी, यूनिवर्स. ओके. फिर उसके अंदर होगा गैलेक्सी. गैलेक्सी के अंदर होंगे आपके स्टार्स. स्टार्स के अंदर होंगे आपके प्लेनेट. ठीक है. प्लेनेट के अंदर होंगे आपके सैटेलाइट. दैट मींस वन यूनिवर्स कंसिस्टिंग ऑफ millions of the galaxy. Okay, remember always one universe consisting of millions of the galaxy, one galaxy consisting of millions of the stars. That means millions of the star system, and one star system consisting of various planets. Okay, for example, in our solar system the 9 planets have been identified. There may be many more planets, right? And in the planet you will have different type of satellites. So like that you have to understand. All right. So galaxy is a collection of innumerable stars. As I told you, galaxy consisting of the billions of the stars or the star system. Okay. Most stars have their own families like a solar system. So solar system is also called the star system because it is consisting of the sun and its satellites, sun and its planets. All right. And Milky Way is the galaxy in which we live. Milky Way का मतलब होता है जो गैलेक्सी जिसमें हम लोग रहते हैं, उसको also क्या बोलते हैं हम लोग? आकाश गंगा. यूनिवर्स का मतलब मानिए, यूनिवर्स इज द लार्जेस्ट यूनिट इन विच वी लिव. यूनिवर्स में सब कुछ आ जाएगा, सब कुछ. यूनिवर्स का मतलब हो गया ब्रह्मांड. ब्रह्मांड का मतलब जितनी भी गैलेक्सीज हैं, सब एवरीथिंग विल कम इन देयर. ओके. सो इट इज अ कलेक्शन ऑफ द डिफरेंट गैलेक्सीज and there are only one galaxies and everything that exists in our universe is basically is there in the galaxy, is there in the universe itself. Okay, let's understand the latitudes and the longitudes. So what is the latitudes and the longitudes is all about? Okay, so first of all you must understand as I told you, when you have to model, the earth, you can take a globe. Okay, globe. A globe is like a true model of the earth. Okay, and you must basically, fix a needle through the globe and tilt a bit later. Okay, क्योंकि earth की जो axis होती है ना, that is tilted by 23.5 from the vertical, from the 90 degree. So that is, the earth axis looks like this. So that means the earth axis, the real axis, basically 23.5 degree north. It is tilted from the vertical, so that is called basically axis of the earth. So that is this axis. All right, so as I told you, that needle is fixed through the globe and it's a tilted manner. So this tilt is basically 23.5 degree north. It is not written here, you can note it down, that it is 23.5 degree north from vertical. Okay, and what happens is, this is what is earth and this is what is globe, if you say. So if you divide this northern portion into different parts, so how would you say that? You would basically make a rings, that is the circular rings which will be covering the earth. So these are basically rings which will be covering. So they are basically called parallels of the latitude. They are called parallels of the latitude. That means these parallels of the latitudes are running parallel to the equator. So they are called parallels to the latitude, because they are running parallel to the equator. So when you move from the equator, so equator is the biggest latitude, and if you move from equator towards the poles, the diameter of the latitude or diameter of that circular ring will basically keep on decreasing. So such lines, or such imaginary lines, which basically move from east to west directions and divide the earth, right, into different parts, are called basically parallels of the latitude, right? And such line is also known as equator. Equator is the biggest latitude on the earth, right? All parallel circles from the equator up to the poles are called parallels of the latitude, that I've already explained you just now. Okay, and there is another set of longitude, which is basically, for example, as I told you, this is your north pole and this is your south pole. Okay, so that north pole and the south pole, you must understand, there are another set of imaginary lines, because now you have divided this earth into this way. Now if you want to divide the earth into this way, so there is another set of imaginary lines, which basically originate from the north pole and basically destined to the southern pole. Originate from the north pole, destined to the southern pole, originate from north pole, destined to the southern pole. So they looks like this, and these are called basically the longitudinal lines. These longitudinal lines, but you must understand, they are not parallel to each other, because as you move from the equator towards the poles, right, they become very closer to each other, and they basically merged at the north pole, and they basically merged at the south pole, right? So they are called longitudes. And a most important point you must understand here is that if I draw the line, for example, this is equator. Okay, the equator always correspond to 0 degree latitude. Always remember, equator means 0 degree latitude. And there are two more important lines which you must understand. The first line is 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degree south. It is called basically Tropic of Cancer. That means you will have the Tropic of Cancer, right? Sorry, Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere, and you have Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere at 23.5 degree north. All right, and you will have basically the Arctic Circle, that will have basically 66 degree north, and you will have the Antarctic Circle, that will have basically 66 degree and south. These are basically some of the heat zones, right? When you say the torrid zone means that receive the maximum amount of heat. So you must understand, the sun will never cross this 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degree south. So इसका मतलब हो गया, sun will always oscillate between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, and by default this zone is called the torrid zone. Why torrid zone? Because it is the zone where the maximum heat is basically received, the maximum amount of heat is received. And beyond this 23.5 degree north and beyond this 23.5 degree south, right, the sun rays never fall vertically, but they will fall obliquely, or they will form, they won't fall basically the vertically. So the that is what the, per unit energy absorption on the heat will be, would be much more slower, or much more lesser than compared to this torrid zone. And that is why this zone is also called heat surplus zone, because the sun will never cross the tropic of Cancer and the tropic of Capricorn. That means sun will never cross 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degrees south. So this is what is the torrid zone means here, and that is the maximum concentration of heat. Okay, and the temperate zone has moderate temperature. This all zone beyond this region is called basically your temperate zone. So this is called basically temperate zone. If you want to make the diagram, you can make the diagram in such a way that it looks like this. So roughly you can say that this torrid zone, where the maximum heat surplus zone is lying around 40 degree north to 40 degree south. So it is basically the heat surplus zone. And beyond that you will have the heat deficit zone. Beyond that you will have the heat deficit zone. Okay, but there is certain mechanism in our earth which basically redistribute the heat from heat surplus zone to heat deficit zone. There is frigid zone also. This frigid zone lies in the northern pole and the southern pole, right, where you will have continuously 6 months of dark. And in the southern pole, for example, if the sun is basically concentrated over here, you will have basically 6 months continuously dark. Okay, if the sun is over here, you will have the 6 month continuously dark over here. So that is why there is extremely cold climate which will be prevailing at the polar locations. Okay, I have already given you the definition of the longitude. Okay, longitude means the lines which are basically originating from the north pole and they are basically merging at the south poles. Okay, so these lines which basically originate from the north pole and merging to the south poles, now you must understand their diameter are always similar, unlike the parallels of the latitude. Latitude में diameter हमेशा equator का सबसे highest होगा, and if you move from equator towards the pole, the diameter will be keep on decreasing. But the longitudinal lines, the diameter will always remain same. Okay, so that is why the distance between them is measured in the degree of the longitude. And all meridians, they are called meridians, are of equal length. Equal length क्यों होगी? क्योंकि इनका diameter same है, क्योंकि इनका diameter always will remain same. All right, and the meridian का मतलब हो गया longitude. Okay, these longitudes which pass of one meridian which pass the Greenwich, right? The Greenwich is located where the British Royal Observatory is located, and we call this is a standard meridian. We call this is basically a prime meridian. Prime meridian. And the longitude which passes, or which basically divide the country of India into two portions, which is located at 82.5 degree north, which is called standard Indian Standard Time. So through that we have come to know about the Indian Standard Time. All right, so this value of prime meridian, which is we take as a reference meridian as a 0 degree longitude. जैसे मान लो we have taken this as a 0 degree longitude. That means this meridian would pass through the British Royal Observatory, which is located at the Greenwich. Greenwich is a place in the Britain. Okay, so we have taken this is a reference longitude, and this reference longitude we have called as prime meridian. Now अगर हमको काउंट करना है तो हम लोग कैसे काउंट करेंगे? इस प्राइम मेरिडियन की राइट में काउंट करेंगे. सो दैट इज 0 डिग्री, 10 डिग्री, 20 डिग्री, 30 डिग्री, 40 डिग्री, 50 डिग्री, 60 डिग्री ईस्ट. इस तरह से अगर हम इस तरफ जाएंगे तो हम लोग बोलेंगे 10 डिग्री, 20 डिग्री, 30 डिग्री, 40 डिग्री वेस्ट. सो दैट मींस if you want to pinpoint a location, for example 20 degree east from prime meridian, you will say it is located somewhere here. So if it is, this is 10 degree and this is 20 degree, so if you say this is one meridian and this is another set of meridian, so this would be basically lying on this 20 degree east longitude. So that is 20 degree from the prime meridian. So that we count basically 80 degree, 180 degree eastward. क्यों 180 डिग्री होगा आप समझने की कोशिश कीजिए, क्योंकि कोई भी आप स्फेयर लेंगे तो वो 360 डिग्री होता है. ठीक है, द एंगल्स विल बी 360 डिग्री. अगर आप इसको दो भागों में बांट देंगे, that means this angle, if you make this angle, this would be 180 degree and this would be 180 degree. So total कितना होगा? 360 डिग्री. तो अगर मैं इस लाइन से इस लाइन दूसरी तरफ जाऊंगा, मतलब अगर आप एक बॉल को लेंगे और बॉल को दो भागों में बांट देंगे और उस बॉल के एक कोने से दूसरे कोने तक जाएंगे, तो आप 180 डिग्री घूम जाएंगे. ऐसे घूमेंगे ना, और दूसरी तरफ जाएंगे तो 180 डिग्री घूमेंगे और वापस आप एक जगह पे दोबारा मिल जाएंगे। जैसे आप अज्यूम करिए ये मेरे पास बॉल है, ठीक है, इस बॉल के मैं एक तरफ से इस बॉल की एक तरफ से मैं जा रहा हूं और बॉल के दूसरी तरफ पहुंच रहा हूं, तो एक तरफ तो सेम प्लेस है, दूसरी तरफ भी वो सेम प्लेस हो जाएगा बिकॉज दे आर ऑल 180 डिग्री। ओके, ऑलराइट, सो दैट इज व्हाई वी से दैट 180 डिग्री ईस्टवर्ड एज वेल एज 180 डिग्री वेस्टवर्ड, they are all identical in the nature because they both basically merge at one place. Okay, this prime meridian basically divide the earth into two halves. मैंने आपको बता ही दिया, दो भागों में डिवाइड कर देता है। एक भाग को हम बोलेंगे ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर और दूसरे भाग को बोलेंगे हम लोग वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर। सो ईस्टर्न साइड पार्ट ऑफ द अर्थ which is lying east to the prime meridian is called eastern hemisphere, and the part of the earth which lying western part of the earth or western part of your prime meridian is called western hemisphere. इसी तरह से जो इक्वेटर के नॉर्थ साइड में जो पार्ट होगा उसको हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे, उसको हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे, नॉर्थर्न हेमिस्फेयर, एंड जो इक्वेटर के सदर्न पोर्शन में होगा उसको हम बोलेंगे सदर्न हेमिस्फेयर। ठीक है, इसी तरह प्राइम मेरिडियन के राइट साइड में और प्राइम मेरिडियन के ईस्टर्न साइड में होगा उसको हम क्या बोलेंगे, ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर, और प्राइम मेरिडियन के वेस्टर्न साइड में जो पोर्शन होगा उसको हम क्या बोलेंगे, वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर। ठीक है, so this is based on the latitudes and the longitude. We have divided the earth into northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere based on the latitudes or based on the equator position, and the eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere based on the prime meridian. All right, so this is what you must understand. As I told you, 180 degree east line and 180 degree west lines, they are also called meridians. They are nothing but the same lines because ultimately you will meet at the same position. All right, अभी देखिए मैंने आपको थोड़ी देर पहले बताया था कि अर्थ जो है आपकी, कोई भी आप स्फीयर लेंगे उसका जो एंगल होगा, मतलब अगर आप इस अर्थ को अगर डिवाइड करेंगे आप, ठीक है, सो दैट इज बेसिकली 360 डिग्री। सो दिस कंप्लीट एंगल इज 360 डिग्री। अगर मैं आपको एक बात बताऊं, जैसे आपको सपोज अर्थ रोटेट, जैसे अर्थ की हम बात करें तो अर्थ 24 आवर्स में एक कंप्लीट बेसिकली रोटेशन कर लेती है, उसी के बेस पर डे एंड नाइट आते हैं। ठीक है, सो डे एंड नाइट फिनोमेना इज ऑकर बिकॉज ऑफ रोटेशन ऑफ द अर्थ, नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ रिवॉल्यूशन ऑफ द अर्थ। सो रोटेशन की वजह से डे एंड नाइट फिनोमेना आते हैं। तो अर्थ एक कंप्लीट रोटेशन लगाता है 24 घंटे में। तो 24 घंटे का मतलब कितना हो गया, 24 घंटे का मतलब हो गया 360 डिग्री अर्थ घूमता है कितनी देर में, 24 घंटे में। तो इसको यदि मैं डिवाइड करूं उससे, तो अगर आप इसको डिवाइड करेंगे तो आप पाएंगे बेसिकली कि अर्थ 15 डिग्री घूमता है। जैसे आप अराउंड इसको डिवाइड करेंगे तो आप पाएंगे 460, अगर दोबारा डिवाइड करेंगे तो 15। सो दैट मींस द अर्थ विल रोटेट 15 डिग्री इन 1 minute, isn't it? So sorry, earth will rotate basically the 15 degree in 1 hour, isn't it? And if you again make this 1 hour into 3600 seconds, so you will find that the earth will basically rotate further, into smaller the components. So like that we can find out the time on which the place is located. For example, if there is one place and you know the location exactly of the place, for example, if the place is located, let's say you say basically this is 0 degree and this is basically your northern hemisphere. So let's say this one is 33 degree and a half degree north latitude, and you say again say 23 degree and half east longitude. Okay, so that means this shows that this latitude is northern hemisphere, so it will be lying somewhere here, and it is eastern longitude. So this is basically this quadrant, so this place is lying somewhere here, and we can easily find out how much this latitude line is away from the prime meridian because of this formula कि 1 डिग्री हमें आगे जाने में इतना अर्थ इतना रोटेट कर दी, तो इतना डिग्री जाने में अर्थ कितना रोटेट करेगी, तो उसके बेसिस पे हम लोग उसका टाइम पता लगा सकते हैं कि कितना टाइम वो प्लेस उस प्राइम मेरिडियन से आगे है या वो प्लेस उस प्राइम मेरिडियन के पीछे है. ऑलराइट, सो वी कैन एडजस्ट अवर क्लॉक accordingly, but it is only based on the longitude, not based on the latitude. Always remember, it is only based on the longitude, not based on the latitude. ओके, जब भी थोड़ी देर पहले मैं बता रहा था स्टैंडर्ड टाइम, तो स्टैंडर्ड टाइम का मतलब हो गया, देखिए जैसे आप जैसे यूएसए में जाएंगे या फिर रशिया में जाएंगे, तो रशिया का जो लैटिट्यूडनल एक्सपेंस है बहुत ज्यादा है, मतलब रशिया का लैटिट्यूडनल एक्सपेंस बहुत ज्यादा है, मतलब वहां जाएंगे तो वहां पे ना आपको 9 टाइम जोन मिलेंगे, 7, जैसे यूएस के अंदर 7 टाइम जोन मिलेंगे, रशिया के अंदर आपको 9 टाइम जोन मिलेंगे। तो वहां पे रशिया को अगर ईस्टर्न पोर्शन से वेस्टर्न पोर्शन जाना है तो आपको 9 बार अपनी घड़ी को एडजस्ट करना पड़ेगा, 9 बार, थोड़ी देर बाद फिर मतलब प्लेन अगर ईस्टर्न पोर्शन से उड़ता है और वेस्टर्न पोर्शन तक जाता है, तो देयर विल बी डिफरेंस बिटवीन द टाइम, बिकॉज देयर इज अ डिफरेंट टाइम जोन्स। बट हमारे कंट्री में केवल एक ही टाइम जोन चलता है, दैट इज इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड टाइम, एंड दैट इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड टाइम इज बेस्ड ऑन, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई ड्रॉ द फिगर ऑफ इंडिया, you can easily visualize, and this is the map of India. For example, if I'm just trying to draw the map of India, okay, so this Indian standard time which is passing through this place, so it is called 82 degree and half degree north. Okay, so it is 82 degree and half 30 degree east, so it is 82 and half degree north. So this longitude is passes through the India, this longitude is passes through the India, and it is also called the standard meridian of India, which divide the country into the two portions, all right. So this is what is something you must understand, and based on that we have come to know about the India's the India's Indian standard time. So it is basically based on this longitude, which basically divides the India into two portions, and India is located east of the Greenwich at around 82 degree and half 30 degree east, which is 5 hours and 30 minutes east of ahead of Greenwich meridian time, the Greenwich meridian time. And this is based on this, basically we calculate the standard time of India based on this calculation, all right. So these things I've already explained you. The axis of the earth passes through two extreme points. They are called, basically extreme points are called north poles and the south poles. Okay, they are also called poles, which are called north pole and south pole. I've already explained you. The axis is also known in the form of needle. जैसे अर्थ की, अगर अर्थ की एक्सिस की बात करें तो अर्थ का एक्सिस इस तरह से होगा. So they are in the form of needle. Okay, the real earth has no such axis. Real earth का कोई एक्सिस नहीं है, but we have, for our understanding, we have made such axis. The circle passes through the center of the earth and they are perpendicular to the axis, is called equator. Okay, so equator का मतलब होता है जो सर्कल सेंटर के अर्थ से निकल रहा है, and that is perpendicular to the axis, which is called equator. And you must understand this equator divides the earth into two portions, which is called northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Okay, and these are called basically parallels of the latitude. The parallels of the latitude again divide the earth into small portions. Okay, now we can also divide the earth into, for example, the hemisphere, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. We can also divide the country. We have also divide the earth into the eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere based on the prime meridian. And we can say these latitudes are basically 10 degree north latitude, 20 degree north latitude, and till 90 degree north latitude. यदि मैं इसकी डायग्राम बनाऊं तो ये डायग्राम इस तरह से लगेगा. देखिए, ये 0 degree, this is 10 degree north, this is 20 degree north, this is 30 degree north, and it will be up to 90 degree north. इसी तरह से 10 degree south, 20 degree south, up to 90 degree south. So they are called basically the parallels of latitude, which divides the earth into different zones, all right. And this is how we can basically divide the earth. Okay, and there are the different set of lines which are called the degrees of the longitude. As I told you, the degrees of the longitude are those the spheres which are basically not parallel to each other. First of all, you must understand, because they are not parallel, because they originated from one pole and basically they merge into another pole. So that is called, they originate from north poles and basically merge into southern poles. So they basically divide the earth into two hemispheres, again the eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere. For example, यदि मैं इसका डायग्राम बनाऊं तो it looks like this. So this is basically your prime meridian. ओके, ये वाला पोर्शन जो ईस्टर्न साइड वाला पोर्शन होगा, दैट इज कॉल्ड ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फीयर, एंड ये वाला पोर्शन होगा आपका वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फीयर. ऑलराइट, सो दिस इज बेसिकली ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फीयर एंड वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फीयर, एंड दिस प्राइम मेरिडियन डिवाइड्स द अर्थ इनटू two equal portions. Alright, and this basically signify the earth has been divided into eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere. ओके, यदि हम इसकी बात करेंगे तो हम लोग जैसे एक प्राइम मेरिडियन से यहां से एक लॉन्गिट्यूड निकलेगा. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ दिस इज अ 10 डिग्री ईस्ट, अनदर सेट ऑफ हम लोग इसको बोलेंगे 20 डिग्री ईस्ट एंड इसको बोलेंगे 90 डिग्री ईस्ट. इसको अगर हम बोलेंगे तो इसको बोलेंगे 10 डिग्री वेस्ट, सॉरी 10 डिग्री वेस्ट, यस. इसको बोलेंगे 20 डिग्री वेस्ट, इसको बोलेंगे 90 डिग्री वेस्ट, isn't it? So they are called degrees of the longitude. All right, so that is how we divide, and I have already explained you these. The longitudes are identified with the help of degrees. The prime meridian represents the 0 degree longitude because it is 0 degree always, because we have taken this is a reference, and the reference meridian is also known as 0 degree longitude, and it can divide the earth into eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere, and we can go into 0 degree to 180 degree east and western directions. All right, so that is how I was explaining you, and that's all for the today's lecture. Okay, I've already explained you all such things in my previous slides. All right, fine. So thank you very much, and we'll meet again tomorrow for the new discussion for geography NCERT. So thank you very much for attending this class. Thank you.